when we talk about the taxation regime,
yes,
to be honest, some people have been calling for some certain taxes to be levied,
Yes.
zitolewe,
yeah,
saying that will be easier. Some people are saying
that's ndindi nyoro.
na kwanza wengine tena wanajibu wanasema iko securitized.
Yes,
Kenyans may not understand what it means to say that a levy is securitized.
yes,
Please explain it to them in simple terms. Alafu tukiangalia hizi levies tuko nazo, because we have something like the railway maintenance levy,
yes,
which I think tukiwa na SGR is even more important
Yeah.
than many other things. We have quite a number of levies. We have we have VAT on the things.
yes,
We have a road maintenance levy, petroleum development levy,
Yes.
railway development levy, import declaration fee, and merchant shipping levy.
yeah,
This comes to around a total of 74 shillings on super petrol
yeah,
after landing.
yeah,
Clearly, you're saying Kenya has its own priorities of
Yeah.
development, and this is one of the avenues that we collect revenue from.
yeah.
So, kindly explain to us when we say that a certain levy has been securitized. What are we meaning?
What we mean by that, Denzel, is that levy, we have been able to use it, yeah, to get some money to do something else, probably in form of a loan. Okay? So, in simple terms, I'm trying to get the simplest way to explain this.
Okay.
That, Denzel, you owe me 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
And you're paying me these 1,000 shillings in batches of 100 shillings per month.
Okay, 10 months.
Okay? And therefore, I know that in 10 months, you'll have paid me 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
And so, I go to him
Yes.
and ask for a loan of 1,000 shillings. So these 100 shillings, every time you bring it to me, it goes directly to... Exactly. So it has already been securitized.
Yeah.
It's on purpose already. That is exactly what we mean. So some of the things that we're already doing today, we have been able to use those levies that we already have. We've already been able to tag them to a purpose.
Okay.
So it's like we have already used them before we even receive them. So we can't change the terms now. You get?
Yeah.
And remember, we also have to get the fact right that some people think that these taxes have come the other day. They have always been here.
16% VAT on fuel.
Yeah. So when we are saying that our fuel prices had gone down, remember when this government came into place,
yes,
there was a very big tussle around the fuel issue.
Yeah.
If you remember very well, we used to queue in petrol stations.
Line hivi.
Yeah.
Na unapewa quota.
Exactly. So that was the crisis that was there at that time. And to add that, at that time there was some money. What is the name of there's a subsidy that had been put on.
Yeah, well, marketers.
Exactly. When President Ruto came in, he removed that.
How was it working human in a subsidy? Because when you don't have supply,
yes,
una subsidize. What are you subsidizing?
And that's why I've had those stories of oil marketers were complaining that the subsidy was actually not getting to them. Because what's a subsidy? A subsidy essentially is cushioning people from the reality of the shock of the true price.
The true price, yes.
That is what a subsidy is.
But you have to deliver.
But then you have to deliver. So the confusion here came that, okay, yes, we have a subsidy, but there is no delivery. Now, that was the confusion. Now, and remember, subsidy is also a very expensive venture.
Very.
So what President Ruto did, he said, no, wait, we are not going to have subsidy on fuel, and we are also not going to have subsidy on unga. What we are going to do, we are going to do two things. We are going to work on our economy efficiently, that these prices can be able to naturally come down. That is more sustainable. Number two, instead of putting a subsidy in consumption of unga, why can't we be able to subsidize production? So that instead of waiting for the unga at the shelf, can we be able to say, subsidize the fertilizer so that it moves from 7,500 to 2,500 so that we plant more. That way the unga price on the shelf will naturally come down to a certain level, and that way the economy is more sustainable. Now that is actually what happened at the time.
Okay.
So today, as we sit, if you remember very well, we have been very okay with our fuel prices. What Kenyans need to understand is that when we were okay like that, we still had those 8 taxes, and we still had that 74 shillings.
Sure. For sure.
Ijakuja leo. It has still been there, even when we were comfortable.
Was CPAC was chairman of the accounts committee when they were there.
Now, that's what I call the politics of convenience, which is the most dangerous type of politics to play. And that's why I always say that Kenyans have to be very careful with their leaders. The most dangerous person that you can ever get into an office is a person who exercises what I call politics of convenience. that when I am part of something, it is good. When I am out, it is bad. These are people who speak from two ends of their own mouth. People who want to play hero with your problems. People who want to use a situation that is a crisis for them to be praised. People who want to use arguments that do not necessarily make sense, but they can be able to swing your brain. It is called being a spin master. So at the end of the day, you cannot be... That's why you look at someone like Ndindi Nyoro.
Yes.
When he is alone on a show, he was making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there was no one to checkmate him. There's no one to give alternative facts. Yeah? Because you see, when I'm alone, the way I'm alone like this, Denzel, I can come here with ChatGPT arguments and end up looking intelligent.
And Twitter posts.
and Twitter posts and end up looking intelligent. But you remember what happened to Ndindi Nyoro when a director from EPRA was on the bench with him, and there was his colleague Kimani Kuria.
Yeah.
He was able to be checkmated and felt like, wait a minute, this gentleman is just... Most Kenyans discovered that he's just hot air. Yeah, so these are people who argue depending on where they are. Okay. Because the gentleman who will tell you, when he was the chair of budget committee, he's the one who moved the motion to move our tax from our VAT from 8% to 16%. He's the one who moved it.
Yeah.
And he defended it and told us how that will be able to transform the country. Today, because he is out, now he wants to pose like he has the intelligence of how this country can get back into order. This is a gentleman today. Yesterday, I had him really speaking against... saying about the demonstrations. These are same gentleman, if you remember Denzel, when he was in, you remember what he said about demonstrations? Actually, he promised us, I remember that time, we in Azimio who were on the streets, and we had just lost people in the streets. But this gentleman, Ndindi Nyoro, had the guts to come out and tell us that hiyo ilikuwa kionjo tu.
Wow.
That's what he told the demonstrators at the time. He told us that was just testing. Kesho ndio mtaona ile yenyewe. That was his language. Today, Ndindi Nyoro wants to pose like he's the next best thing that has happened to Kenya after sliced bread. That cannot be the case. That is what I'm telling you. You must be careful when you are looking at your politicians.
Yeah.
Some of them will always have what I call the politics of convenience. When I am out, that today he wants to be on all media houses to tell us about how the economy should be run. He has all the ideas now about how you can take the economy on the right track. What are you telling us? This is a gentleman who has been inside. He was the chair of budget committee. Why couldn't he exercise these miracles that he's now telling us about everywhere? He now even wants to teach us investment and stocks and which shares are better than the others. I've always argued that before he tells you which share is doing well and which one you should buy and how he bought and he got to become very better, he must also tell you where he got the money to buy the first shares.
Wait, spinning around.